Hey everyone, I'm Dorothy Downs. I'm the Executive Director of the Forest City Film Festival, and I want to welcome you and thank you for joining us to the fifth in our Youth Filmmaker 101 series. So in today's seminar, we're going to be chatting about the pitch. This is the category that you don't need any technology to join in on and try your hand at. And today we're going to talk to Jordan Morris, who's a screenwriting coach and the judge of this category, along with the winner of last year's pitch, Ethan Hickey. And so Ethan was also a category winner he was the outstanding most enterprising young filmmaker. He entered films in multiple categories. So it'll be really interesting listening to him thinking and talking about the pitch. And it'll be a great conversation. But before we bring these guests in today, I'd like to pass this over to Laura Briscoe, the director of the Forest City Youth Film Festival. She's going to tell you a little bit more about the film festival, the Youth Film Festival itself, and then she'll introduce the guests. So Laura.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Dorothy. For anyone new to the Youth Film Festival, this is our second year going into it, and we're really excited. We have 5 categories for students to enter. Anyone in high school can enter from grade 9 to grade 12 or victory lappers. And we have over $4,000 worth of funding to give away to young filmmakers. So that's you if you are watching, and we encourage you to enter. One thing we'll be talking about today is the pitch category. And something that we really wanted the audience to know is that this is a category for basically anyone who has an idea that they want to share. So as Dorothy mentioned, no technical experience. Say you're trying to work on a film and it's not done yet. This is the category for you because you can just tell us what the idea would be. Speaking of it not being done, we are extending the deadline. So initially it was June 25th, but with everything going on, we understand that students need more time. And so we will be extending the deadline into the summer. And we hope that that will encourage more submissions for this category as well. And yes, $500 to be given away. We're going to be talking to our experts to learn from them and give us some better idea of how we can enter this category. It is my favorite one, just because I want to hear from student voice and what ideas you have to share. So at this time, I'd like to introduce, as Dorothy mentioned, Jordan Morris. He is an award-winning producer. He's been an actor, script writing development. He's going to be our pitch coach, so he has a wealth of information to share. And Ethan Hickey, a rock star student that really stood out in the film festival last year, back again to share with us some tips and tricks about making a pitch. So at this time, Derek, can you bring up Jordan and Ethan? Hi, guys.
Hey, guys.
Everyone.
I think a good starting point, Jordan, from you, if you were to judge the pitch category, can you give us a definition? What is a pitch? And what are some things that really stand out that you would look for in a student submitting an entry?
Sure. Well, a pitch is a short presentation, verbal presentation of your screenplay's idea, your movie idea. And it's basically your first test at the artistic merit and the commercial viability of your movie idea, whether or not it's going to be able to move people emotionally, and whether or not you're going to be able to draw an audience and perhaps make a couple bucks with your film. Both of those are critically important. And you'll get up in front and basically in front of a panel of experts and describe to them what the movie is like. You don't necessarily have to give away every single detail. In fact, it's most common that you don't tell the entire story, but just the setup and what the focus is going to be, the main characters, your themes, that type of thing, and just have some fun getting excited about something that you're excited to create, and hope that it's infectious enough to get some interest from, again, in this case, some professionals that might be able to help you out with some great feedback.
And I think you did raise a good point there. Something where people feel comfortable to get up and present. For the youth festival, because a pitch is something that is happening at the industry level, you definitely described what we are looking at beyond the youth festival once students have graduated. But for this year, for students with their creative idea, they just need to submit a 1 to 2 minute video recorded with a cell phone, even is fine, because we're not looking at the technical ability with that. It's more just sharing an idea, and they don't have to be intimidated with the public speaking factor, because you will not have to stand up in front of an audience and share your idea with us. It's more sharing it through film, and then we can take it from the next steps. Ethan, you were going to add to that.
Yeah, I'm just a really big fan of the pitch category. It was definitely my favorite category. You can basically pitch anything you want at this level, because most likely you're not making this film, and so your budget is your imagination. You can pitch the next Star Wars if you want. That's something that when you're actually making the film, you can't really do, because you have to keep it in a budget constraint of most of the time $0, right? And so you have to do something in your own house with your buddies in the films. But when you have a pitch, you can pitch, you can write a sci-fi screenplay, which is something I really enjoy.
And thank you again. That's a great point, because we want to see where your imaginations can bring you and your creativity and innovation. And with a narrative and coming up with a new story is one category, but say you have a documentary you want to film and you're social distancing, so you can't actually create it. What would that documentary be about? Or maybe it's something you're experiencing right now that you want to share with us.
Yeah, well, this is a great time to do a documentary about something like that, because this is fresh in people's minds and they really want to hear about quarantine and COVID-19. And so I feel like definitely if someone wanted to pitch something like this, it's a very good idea.
Mm-hmm. And just so you know, it's something I wish I had mentioned in the beginning. At any time, our online viewers, we can see that you're there watching live on YouTube. Feel free to ask questions to any of us, Jordan, Ethan, or myself. If you have questions about the category or anything with regards to entering the festival, you can type those in below and we'll make sure to address them as we move forward. Ethan, did your perception change after you became more familiar with the pitch? So you entered the pitch festival last year. And then from that experience, what did you learn about what you read online as a description, and then from the actual experience of it itself?
Definitely. When I initially pitched to the youth festival, I didn't really have any idea of what a pitch actually was. I just knew that I heard of the elevator jokes about how you were in an elevator and you had to pitch someone in 15 seconds or whatever. But I learned about the whole structure of a pitch, what I think Jordan's going to go over later. And it really showed me, of doing the research online, that there was actually a physical structure as to what you're supposed to say in a pitch, because you have such little time and you have to get so much information across in such little time, and at the same time not give away too much information to hook them to ask more questions.
Thank you. And Jordan, you mentioned that in your introduction with your definition of a pitch, some of the things that should be included. What would you say that are the top 3 things that somebody should make sure they include when they're sharing a pitch?
Well, the first thing to remember is not to try to tell the whole story. Some people who don't really understand what a pitch is about think they are supposed to get up in front of whomever, or in this case, in front of the camera, and just describe exactly every scene in the film, which is not at all the case. So don't try to tell the whole story. You want to just focus on the essential elements of the story, like who is your hero, who's the focal character, what was their normal everyday life like before the story begins. This is if you're writing a narrative, not a documentary. It's a little different with documentaries, obviously. Why are we going to feel empathy for this lead character in your story? What was the something happened to start the story off? Something disrupted their everyday life and changed things. So we want to know what starts the story off, and what their goals are, what their motivations are, what their major obstacles are going to be, or who the antagonist is. If you have a traditional bad guy, we want some sense of what that looks like. And then a sense of what the final act is going to be, what the big conflict at the end is. So if it's a traditional hero quest story, there's going to be a big battle at the end, so to speak. So we want a hint of what that might look like. But typically you don't give away the ending. You've got
Okay.
to be, you got to be prepared to tell a judge if they want to hear this. But in most cases, it's recommended that you just hook them with an idea, a cool idea for that final act, and you hope that they ask for more information.
And one of the nice things about this category is that we have 5 finalists who are all going to be recognized. So at this time, because we don't have entries, the top 5 are going to have expert coaching from you. So that's part of their prize, is being part of a finalist, is that you're going to donate your time 1 hour to each of them, and you're going to help them kind of fine tune what their pitch would look like, and then they can even re-record it. So that's a really thank you in advance for your time in supporting these students and working through their pitches with them. So we're really trying to encourage people that are new to writing a pitch that it's okay if it's not perfect, because we know that this is all about the process, and part of that process is learning from people like yourself. So thank you in advance, and congratulations to those students that are going to enter, that they get this opportunity with you. And you also kind of mentioned an overview and not giving it all away. And there's something called a log line. And we were thinking that you could tell us what a log line was. And then Ethan, you actually created one for the film that we're going to see today. It'd be great to have an example before we actually watch your film. So Jordan, how would you define for us what a log line is intended to do, or what it is?
Sure. Yeah, a log line is basically one sentence. It can be 2, but typically you want to try to keep it to 1 if at all possible. You want to try to keep it to under 50 words that captures the entire concept that you're trying to create in that one sentence. And it's important that it's concise. That's the idea. If you have trouble articulating your idea in as few words as possible, then your concept might be too complicated or convoluted. So it's a good idea to try to capture the entire essence of whatever it is that you're trying to create in one sentence. Under 30 words is great if you can do it. And it's not as easy as it sounds.
No. And I think when we...
a real and trying to... Oh, sorry, go.
Oh, sorry, you're breaking up a little bit. So I was filling in. I think, as Ethan mentioned, an elevator pitch, when we try and really fine tune what we have to say, we start to really focus on what are the key words that I need to get out there. And Ethan, like you mentioned, an elevator pitch, that's a great, I would say, visual for us to think about when trying to write something very concise. My favorite thing about this, again, is these are your creative writers, and these are your drama students that have experience coming up and telling stories. It's not just our filmmakers, but our people that might be working with filmmakers. There's a question from our online audience right now, just before we get to the log line, from Daniel Kim. He's asking, can we submit multiple pitches? And absolutely, yes, you can, because we know that you have more than one idea to share. And not only can you submit multiple pitches, you could do what Ethan did, and you can enter multiple categories. So if you pitch your idea and then you have time to actually create it, you might enter it into a different category as well. Ethan, can you share with us your log line?
Yeah, so I haven't touched this since I submitted this with the film that you guys will be watching. So it's less than 15 words. And so it's a man working the overnight shift at work gets an unexpected visitor knocking at his door. So that, yeah.
And Jordan, just to go over to you, what do you think about that log line?
It's short, for sure. It's interesting. It's kind of compelling because we want to know more, but I would probably encourage to add a little bit more information in there, especially about the man. We want to know, we want some kind of reason why we would take an interest in your lead characters, what's interesting about them. So some kind of description of that captures the essence of that character can help make it more attractive, but it's compelling. Yeah.
Yeah, and I really liked how you almost posed it like a question, the unexpected knock. We don't know who that is, and we have to watch the film, or we have to want to know more about the film and figure out what is that unexpected knock. So that's a good strategy that you added in there. Before we actually go into the film, I wanted to ask a couple more questions. What would you do, or what would you suggest to a student that has no technical experience and they feel like they want to be part of this? Jordan or Ethan can answer that one.
It's easy. If you can articulate your ideas, if you can describe a movie that you want to see, then you're halfway there.
Okay.
So anybody inspired by an idea they've got that they would really love to see, got to do is a little bit of homework on how to describe it. There's a little bit of a structure to a pitch, but it's not difficult at all. And the pitches are really excellent for people who want to learn as much as they can, as quickly as they can. So do not be intimidated by not having a really highly polished pitch yet. The whole idea is that by the time you come out of a pitch fest, your idea is going to be much better and you're going to be much better prepared to create that film. So just go for it and learn as you go.
And thank you. And we have another online question from Lydia asking, okay, so if we feel comfortable submitting the film, but we are shy. So we're not worried about the technical ability, but we are nervous about public speaking about our idea. So to a shy person, how could we encourage them that this could be a category for them?
Well, in this case, you're recording alone, right? You're recording at your own pace in your own space, and it's just you and your cell phone or your camera or whatever, your laptop, whatever it is that you're going to record it on. And you can do multiple takes, but nobody is going to dock marks or that kind of thing if you're nervous, if your voice is a little wobbly. It doesn't matter. What they're hunting for is a great idea and how you go about articulating it, how you go about describing it.
And what's different this year from last year?
Nobody cares if you're nervous or uncomfortable.
And last year, it was a bit different because we were in the Wolf Performance Hall in London. And Ethan, you had the ability and the confidence, which we were really impressed by, to go on stage and deliver your pitch, not only at the Youth Film Festival, but in the actual industry level film festival as well. And so for you presenting on stage, that was a little bit different. What would you say to students who are confident with public speaking, and what drew you to be able to do this?
I've always been, in high school, I kind of had the idea that I wanted to get into business. And then I kind of had the struggle of whether I wanted to be in business or film. And in the end, I found out that the two of them combined really well. I think that if you want to be successful in the film industry, you also have to be business savvy because you need to be able to talk to people. And so I believe I've been blessed with the gift of being able to speak very well publicly, and I'm very lucky and I'm very grateful for that. And so I'm able to just go up on stage and I'm practicing as much as I can, but then I just have to go up there and give my pitch and hope I don't screw up. So,
and I think you raise a good point about filmmaking that, like, I like to say the quote, "Nothing in this world happens in isolation." And so you have to be successful if you have this business side to you and this ability to pitch your ideas. But the great thing is that this is a collaborative, filmmaking is collaborative, and students that have ideas are not alone. They can eventually partner. And the great thing with the Youth Festival is we've been connecting students together, and you can create a team. And so if it's not you that isn't necessarily the public speaker of the group, you can partner with people like Ethan who are. So that's just another side to it. There's another online question here from Lewis Klug asking, is it okay if my pitch or film is about a video game? For example, Minecraft player versus player. And I think that everything at this point is okay. Like, we're looking for all different ideas. So if you have one, I think that's a really good question, speaking to people who might have an idea and they feel like it's not good enough or it's not what the judges are looking for. We are looking for what is important to you. So if Minecraft is your passion and your hobby and you have a way of incorporating it into a story, we want to know what that is. What would you say to that, Jordan, as a prospective pitch judge?
I mean, this festival competition is going to be a little different than some mainstream thing. I would want to know, is this a narrative? Is this a story that involves Minecraft? Or is this a documentary film that's just exploring what the game is about and how people compete? That's a very different pitch. Both are fine. I'm already curious and have questions to ask. So I'd say that's a good start.
I think that's a really good point. So if you're envisioning your film, are you what category, if it was actually to be created, would you envision that film going into? So would it be a documentary, as you mentioned? Would it be a narrative? As an educator, there's a lot of people talking about how to use Minecraft in education. So that would be more a documentary for us to understand it. But if it's more of a story, I think you're right, Jordan. It's the way that they frame their pitch, and it's not something that would be excluded. So yes, Lewis, we look forward to seeing your pitch that involves Minecraft. And at this time, we're going to be moving into the graveyard shift created by Ethan after taking one more question. And so the next question would be, could you give any suggestions, either of you, as a point of entry? So for somebody that thinks, I have creative ideas, how do I think about what would be good as a pitch? So where do I start with my brainstorming process if I want to enter, but I don't know what to talk about?
Jordan?
I would say you start with something that's important to you, something that gets you excited, or something that you're concerned about, whether it's a positive thing that you really do genuinely get excited about and that's a big part of your life, or it's a negative thing, something that you're afraid of that concerns you in the world. You may want to start there, and that could be the theme for either a narrative, a story type movie, or it could be the very subject that you explore with a documentary. So something personal to you that you can get passionate about.
I think that's a great example. So we hope that you start brainstorming, and we look forward to seeing your pitches. And at this time, Ethan, you gave us your log line of the graveyard shift, so we can cue it up and let's see what it's all about.
Hey, we're headed out for the night.
All right.
You gonna be here all night?
Yeah, I'm probably gonna pull an all-nighter, to be honest.
All right, man. Have a good weekend.
Yeah, see you later, Jake.
Good night, boys. Real funny, guys.
Okay, shh. Who's that at the door?
Who's who?
There's a guy at the door.
What do you mean there's a guy at the door?
There is a dude at the door.
What? There's no guy at the door.
What?
I'm getting the hell out of here.
Jake. Jake.
I'm not getting the door again.
Jake.
Kevin.
Hey, that was great. The masked man will return. So the burning question, Ethan, is the masked man returning? Are you doing something else with that?
Yeah. Whenever this whole thing dies down, we've always had the idea of doing a sequel just for fun.
Awesome. Good. I'm glad to hear it. I hope we see it at the film festival. So I'm tagging out with Laura now, back to Dorothy. And thank you, Laura, for those terrific questions. I thought it'd be really interesting and fun now to take a look at this film project. And let's see what you would do to make a little bit of a pitch around this. So Jordan, where would you start with this? Tell me, give us an idea of how you would build a pitch on this film idea. I know we're working backwards, but.
Yeah, we hinted that there's a few elements that you want to describe. And this being a short, they're pretty simple. It's a small cast, it's a simple setup. So I would want to know about what brought you to it. Why do you want to make this movie? Why are you the right person to make it? What are you hoping to, how do you want the audience to feel? Like, what kind of a response do you want out of your audience? That type of thing. Try to connect you to the project and make it as personal as possible. That's always interesting that we can, so the whomever is judging can understand your motivations and exactly what you want to get out of it. We're all here to try to help you get there. So the more we understand where you're going, the better chance we have of helping you get there too.
I think that's a really great thing to mention. And I wanted to mention that earlier also in regards to documentary pitches, because of course we welcome documentary pitches also to this. And that's really important, is why are you the one to tell this story? What is it? What is your unique voice in that documentary, your personal take on it that makes it special and that makes you the one who should be able to tell that story? And that also leads me to thinking about mentioning for the educators out there that no matter what subject you're teaching, this pitch can actually work into many, many subjects. Honestly, whether it's a documentary about geography or chemistry, or there's so many different places to take the pitch, this whole idea. And of course, English and drama, as Laura mentioned earlier, is a great place to go too. But sorry, segueing off the question, because I just think that was important to point out. What about you, Ethan? How would you have pitched this if this was the project you were pitching? And I realized the other thing about the pitch, sorry, should let you finish before, let you answer the question before I go on. But before I give you that question, the other thing about the pitch that's really good is it's generally about a bigger idea than you can do in a less than 5-minute film. So this isn't typically the kind of film that certainly the pitch that Ethan did last year was about a feature-length film. And it was a much bigger idea. But if you were to take something like this, Ethan, it might be a tighter pitch. How would you do this? What elements would you put in?
I think that something that I learned at the industry festival was that sometimes you're not pitching the entire, if I was to make this film, is that what you're talking about, pitching to make? Not.
Yep.
Okay. Something I learned at the industry level of the pitch festival was some people pitched more the production side and not the screenwriting side and just telling their story. So I think what I would do is I would do a mixture of the two in the pitch. So I would start out with my log line or end with my log line, talk a little bit about the story, but then say in my pitch, hey, I have it's one location. We have the location locked down. There's 4 characters in it. We have all the characters and we want to do this awesome VFX shot and we know how to do it. So, stuff like that to really tell the judge that you're ready to go. You're locked and ready and all you need to do is get the approval to shoot it. So
very cool. So you would actually take it to the next level up, which is the production type of pitch. So, and rightfully so, so that's because that's where your mind is. Linda McClory from online asks she says she's already written a film, but she's having a hard time narrowing it down into just a few sentences. So bringing that big feature film idea down to a 2-minute pitch. How would you go about doing that? Any advice?
Me?
Sure, Jordan.
Well, there are a few central ingredients to any kind of story, film story. Again, we'll focus on documentaries are a little bit different. In a doc's case, just a real quick look at what a doc is. It's all about the subject and why it's important to you. That would be where you probably start, why you're passionate about it or why you want people to know more about that subject. But if you're writing a full narrative, a story, then you want to focus on your main character, again, your inciting incident, what the main action of the film is going to be, and that can help by identifying what genre you're producing. Is this a horror movie? Is this a comedy? Is this a drama? As there's expectations within each one of those categories that are special that you'd want to hint at. But the main character, inciting incident, main action, like what is your character going to be doing through most of this film? And what obstacles are in their way. And then always, in any case, whenever you're telling a narrative story, what are the stakes? What could go wrong? What is your character going to lose? Sci-fi is often the end of the world type of thing. But most often it's some form of life or death. Once the story starts, your character's kind of locked on a path. And if they don't reach their goals, something terrible is going to take place. And we want a sense of all of those kind of details.
Very, very cool. Okay. And when you're doing the pitch, Will Sharp has a question, and he says, he asks, what advice do you have for realistic costumes, props for someone with very little experience? So in the pitch, do you need to have any of that, take any of that into consideration? Ethan, what are your thoughts?
No, definitely not. If you're just keeping it strictly with the pitch, so you're not actually making it, you can do whatever you want. You can have lightsabers in it if you want. It doesn't matter. You can do literally anything in your pitch. But if you're doing something that you're intending to make, yeah, you have to keep that in mind. But at the same time, it's not that hard to grab wardrobe. Like a lot of the wardrobe in my films is just from Value Village, or it's from their own the actor's wardrobe. So you can do anything.
And the nice thing about the pitch, honestly, is that this particular type of pitch, the 2-minute pitch that we're doing, is not about proving your production ready. It's about the big ideas, the great ideas. So you can make it as extravagant as you want, because it's not that we're intending to make these films. So you can let your imagination go wild. And as long as you can bring that wild imagination down into those 2 minutes to tell the story the way, with the elements that Jordan has suggested, then you'll truly have a winning pitch. And so as we've said, we've got no pitches have submitted yet, and there's $500 in prize money going out to this category. So the top 2 win money, and then 5 finalists will all get to work with an expert, with Jordan, to craft a better pitch and to really learn about making this even better. And it's a blast to put it together. So we really hope that that lots of you just jump into this and give it a try. We've got another question from online from Will Sharp. He asks, he says, how do you make a unique niche idea marketable to a wider audience and to judges? So if you've got, something that might be very narrow interest, what can you do with that? Jordan, you want to try that?
Sure. I think at the center of any great story is something that's universal, something that anyone can relate to. So it doesn't matter if you're making a horror movie with a grotesque monster or a science fiction piece. At the center of it, it's always about the people. And typically it's about how they are transformed by that story. So it's about the picking a nice kind of theme that you can explore inside that story, whatever framework you're working with. And tell us, are you going to be exploring love? Are you going to be exploring death? Are you going to be exploring success? Whatever that means to you. It's some kind of universally impactful theme that's at the center of any good story. And those are the stories that go on and live on forever, like mythology. In all of mythology, there's always a central theme that is universal, and anybody from any corner of the world can relate to it. And that's what makes it an effective story. So something to that effect.
Fantastic.
Focus on your character.
Great advice.
Character.
Great advice. Great advice. We have another question from online. Hugh asks, he says, curious about how one would pitch a rather outlandish concept. Would you say it's best to lay all the cards on the table and be confident, or try and hide what the story is actually about because it's bad?
Because it's bad. Well, I'm fascinated already. I'm curious. I want to know what this is. Yeah, you want to be as transparent about it as possible. I don't think you can hide what it is that you're trying to do and focus on just like extraneous details like costumes and sets and stuff like that. We're going to want to know what this story is. And, if I got the chance to speak with you, we'd talk about how you could take something outlandish and make it more universally appealing. Nobody wants it to be mundane. Everybody is looking for a fresh new idea, but there are certain rules that you've got to at least be aware of to make certain that your movie is capable of drawing an audience. Because although a lot of artists believe they are making their art for themselves, if you're a filmmaker, that doesn't really work, because that means that you're going to be the only person that would be interested in buying a ticket. It does have to work for a lot more people, and they have certain expectations. So in a longer conversation, we would talk about what people expect out of whatever type of movie it is that you want to make.
Fantastic. So we're getting close to the time that we need to wrap up. I would love to ask Ethan, before we go, if you've got any final words of wisdom, any advice for young student filmmakers out there. Ethan, you entered in the narrative. You entered 3 films in the narrative category, and 4 films in the narrative category, and 2 became finalists. And you won the pitch. So you're very experienced. I would love to hear if you have any words of wisdom for the filmmakers out there.
In the pitch category, or in the entire?
In the entire Forest City Youth Film Festival and the filmmaking world for high school students.
I feel like a lot of people are intimidated by sometimes seeing what the films would be at this festival, and I fear that discourages a lot of people. And if you look, like, I'm only 18 years old, but I've also been making films literally my entire life. That's what I've done since I was a child. And so if you look at my filmography from when I was super young, it was terrible, and it is still terrible, but it just continuously gets better. So I've always had the mindset that you don't have to make your masterpiece at 18. All you need is to have each film get better and better at some aspects. So something that I do is, I produced and I directed a lot of films in a short period of time. I directed like 6 short films in about a year and a half. I was just pumping out film by film like every couple of weeks because I just couldn't stop making films. And I had a goal with each of those films. And so one was to evoke a strong emotion. With Graveyard Shift, it was, I wanted to make something with high production value. I went to a actual office and I had a guy get hit by a car. So stuff like that. And then, with every film, I have a goal in mind for what I want that to be production wise, screenwriting wise, acting wise. And so now that I'm moving into the professional aspect of my career, I'm getting to actually write screenplays for professional actors to act out. And I'm really excited about that because I can actually write long pieces of dialogue. And so with that, I can now focus more on the screenwriting aspect. And so what I would say is just go out there and make whatever film you want. Make it for you, make it for anyone. If you enjoy the idea, just go out and do it. It may be terrible, but at the same time, you need to get the bad films out of your body so that you can make the good ones. You're not going to make a great film on your first try. It's just not possible. You need to get the bad ones out. So I'd say just go out there, grab friends or do it yourself, and just make whatever film you want. Make people laugh, make people cry, make people scared, do whatever you want.
That's great. I love how you broke that down and you gave yourself a goal every time, a specific task for each of the films that you made. And I've got to mention that no no men or animals were harmed in the making of your film.
Yes.
So you don't do anything that's risky. Don't do anything that's dangerous. Please don't film things just to try to get an effect. Those effects, I mean, Ethan can tell you they're done with editing. They're done with trick shots. So learn about the trick shots. Plenty of places you can do. You can just Google that. But Ethan, tell us so that everybody knows, how did you go about doing that? How did you have that person hit by the
so actually literally in the safest way possible. So all you did was you got your camera on a tripod and you kept it in a still frame, and then you had the actor who played the masked man stand there in his spot and then pretend to get hit by the car with no car in sight, no car at all, and then he just pretended to fall down and then crawl out of frame. And then we shot another take of the car just driving right through frame, and there was no masked man in the frame. You just drove right through, and then all you do is, it's called stitching, and with masking and Adobe After Effects or whatever software you have, you just have the car in frame, and then the masked man, the car keeps coming closer and closer, and then you match it so that the car hits the masked man as the masked man does his action of him pretending to get hit by the car. And that's all it is. Like, if you slow down that, it's on my YouTube, it's on your guys's page, you can see that it's not perfect, but it works very well for what it is. And I was really excited about that shot, and so was everyone else. So,
and it was well done. It was really effective. So yes, so absolutely, please do not do anything that's dangerous. Find alternate ways. Filmmaking is problem solving, and that's the fun part about it. There's so many puzzles when you're putting together a film. So we've got another question from online, and I'd like to go to this, and then I'll let Jordan have a few last words. Julia Conrad asks, if someone is not comfortable submitting their work to the film festival, what are some steps to helping to build their confidence? Have you got any thoughts on this, Ethan or Jordan?
I'll let Jordan talk first, but I'd love to say something afterwards.
Sure.
Sure. Okay. Just know that any skill is going to take some practice. So don't go into it thinking that it's going to be perfect. And Ethan was just hinting at that too. Perfection is the enemy of the good, as they say. So if you're nervous, just accept it, embrace it. I'm going to be nervous, but I'm going to do this anyway. And if you've got the time, of course, you can practice. And if you're going to be filming your pitch to a camera, do it a few times, run it through like actors do, right? They run the lines over and over and over again, and they get more comfortable with them over and over and over again. And in fact, if you play it back and listen to it, you might be able to catch some spots where it doesn't quite make enough sense, or the story's not quite clear, and then you can polish it from there too. So don't think you've got to get anything right the first time. That's not what this is about. Just jump in and be prepared to learn and roll with the punches, and you'll be able to learn and actually progress your skills a lot faster if you go in open like that.
Yep. And in fact, from the pitch, honestly, somebody can read it through with them. They can practice it in front of friends. You can get feedback. You can start to build a bit of confidence that way by having friends that will give constructive and kind criticism, and not be too hard on you. And read it in front of them, and work that idea with some friends.
Or I recall that some people have hired or asked someone who is confident to pitch their idea for them. So you can get a surrogate if you absolutely need to, as long as it is your concept and it's articulated in a way that you like. That's possible too.
Very good idea. Ethan, you were going to say something.
I was not always very confident in speaking. I was shy as a kid, but I did something called DECA in high school, which is a business competition thing or whatever. And I really gained speaking skills from there. And I think that something that people could do that are shy is, I'm going to be honest, like you can't stay shy your entire life if you want to get into something like this, because you're going to have to talk to people. And I'm sorry, but producers nowadays, or producers for all of time, they have a very small attention span. There are a lot of screenwriters coming to them. So if you screw up and you are too shy to talk to them, they're not going to come talk to you. And so I understand that people are shy. And so something that I would suggest for those people is tell your parents or tell your friend, or this is really weird, but it may work. Tell them, randomly come to me at some random point in the next week with a phone, with a camera, and walk up to me and say, tell me your pitch, and then tell them to say it right on the spot. And it's probably going to be terrible, and it's going to be a couple minutes long. Catch them off guard so they can't prepare it. And then what you want to do as the pitcher after giving your terrible pitch is watch that video over and over again, and then write a transcript for that, and then see your entire thing in words, and then edit it down, and then talk to Jordan and get it structurally sound. But when you have that original transcript, you could realize like, oh, this line isn't needed because it's mentioned up here. So stuff like that, just squishing it, but also keeping the information intact is really key. And that'll also help you get your jitters out. And I'd say also maybe send the video to a group chat. Don't send it to one person because they're going to be confident about it and they're just going to be nice. Send it to a group chat. And hopefully you have some mean friends. That's what I had, and I was very lucky about that, is they'll tell it straight. And that's something that I loved. And so send it to a actual group chat and say, hey, can I get your thoughts on this? And then they may make fun of you, but that's what you need. You need that, because when you're in front of, as I was, 150, 100 people, you need that confidence to be able to do your job and tell your pitch, because you're going to need it when it comes to talking to a producer.
That's fantastic. Well done. Good advice. Great advice. And the other thing to take it back to, this can be as easy, while Ethan's advice is absolutely fantastic and a really great way of doing a very professional, polished pitch. The way we've set this version up where you tape it, you can actually do all of Ethan's work, and then you can read it off your final script. You don't need to memorize the entire thing and do it that way. The pressure is a little bit lower than if you came to the Forest City Film Festival and did the pitch at the main festival. The youth festival pitch is a little bit less intimidating, that because you can do it ahead of time on camera. So listen, I want to thank you guys. We're a little over time, but this is a fantastic subject. And I think it's a great opportunity for students out there. And I really appreciate both of your expertise and your input on this. So everybody out there, just know that we will be posting this on YouTube. It'll be open and available on YouTube, and it can be accessed at any time if you can't find our YouTube channel, although the YouTube channel is just Forest City Film Festival. So it's available also online on our website at the Youth Filmmaker 101 page on our website. So if you have any other questions from this, please let us know on our Facebook, on the YouTube chat. We'll be happy to answer. You can also email us at info@forestcityfilmfest.ca. So remember that we've got plenty of other resources. We've done 4 other of these seminars already. So on YouTube, there's lots of seminars about all of the different categories and elements of filmmaking. So look them up. And if you haven't already seen them, we really want to give you guys support in submitting your films. We realize that it's a difficult year, more challenging than other years. And so we will do whatever we can to help you to submit. As Laura mentioned at the beginning, we are extending the submission deadlines. Online right now, it reads that it's June 25th is your deadline. So in the next few weeks, you'll see we have to just talk to judges, and there's a few people we need to consult to get the actual date. But we're certainly bringing it into hopefully middle of the summer for you to be able to just round out your ideas and finish off and get your submissions into us this year. So join us again next week, Wednesday at 3:00, as always. We're going to be talking about lighting, about making your film shine with great lighting. And we're also going to be talking about creating ideas in self-isolation. So we're going to be doing a bit of brainstorming and helping you hopefully come up with some ideas where you can do it in a little bit more intimate fashion. Joining us will be Romy Golem. He is the coordinator for advanced filmmaking at Fanshawe. Utah, and also the judge for the narrative category. So he's a wealth of knowledge. Also, Tyler Joksis will be joining us also, and he was the top animation last year, as well as the runner-up for the pitch category. So I know that you're going to find lots of inspiration and great information. So please join us live on YouTube so that you can take part in the conversation next week, next Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us this week, and we'll see you next week.